My name is Steve. Welcome to my shop. This video is my official entry into Emma's Spare Room Machine Shop Tool Making Challenge. When she offered the challenge up, I decided that I'd really like to do something, and I've been putting off a project for a long time. I've got an A to Z CNC tool holder, quick change tool holder that I had originally purchased for a Shoreline lathe that I was using for doing some miniature modeling work. I've since parted with the Shoreline lathe and upgraded to a giant 6-inch Atlas lathe. However, I did keep the quick change tool post, and it has worked out okay, but when I've gotten into some heavier cuts, it just wasn't rigid enough. So I decided to replicate it in steel. So this first part one of the video, is the actual tool post. I'll be making that out of a piece of mystery steel. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's probably hot rolled steel. It's actually a chunk that I had cut off from the tongue of a trailer hitch that I welded up probably 20-25 years ago, and when I put it on my van it was too long, so I cut a 2-inch piece off of it and I threw it in my bin of scrap metal, and it's been sitting there ever since waiting for this project. I will also, in part 2 of the video, I'm going to be making additional tool holders for it. I can still use the tool holders that came with this originally for some light duty work. So here is my entry into Emma's tool contest. I'm making my final cut on this block. I wanted it 1 3/4 inch square, and I had about 6 thousandths left to go, so I touched down and I'm going to take one last pass, one finishing pass on this block. I'm going to move it, go down about 5 thousandths. Right on the money. Now I'm going to lay out the block for milling. The critical dimensions, this width here on the top of the dovetail is 990 thousandths. The depth from the top surface to the bottom of the dovetail is 200 thousandths, and then the distance from the reference surface, and I'm going to use these as the reference surfaces, the distance from the reference surface to the edge of the dovetail is 280 thousandths. Now I took those dimensions off of the original tool holder, the tool post, and unfortunately it's very inconsistent, so I settled on 280, and I'll make both sides the same. So now I'm going to lay them out. I've set my height gauge at 280 thousandths, and I'm going to score it. That's my reference surface, and I'm going to make my score line at 280 thousandths, and then I need 280 thousandths from that reference. Okay, now in order to get my next dimension, I add 990 thousandths to the 280, so I have 1 inch 270 thousandths, and that'll be my next line. So I got 1 inch 250, and line up to 15, 50, line up to 20, so that's 270 thousandths. Now there again, I'll do it from the reference surface. So I got 1 inch 270 thousandths there, 1 inch 270 thousandths there. And just to check myself, I'm going to measure the width of the top here, and I have 990 thousandths. And the next dimension that I'm going to mark on here is the depth of the cut. And the depth of the cut, according to my drawing, is 200 thousandths. So I'm going to mark the depth of the, set it at 200 thousandths, and mark that. It's 200 thousandths. So I don't know whether you can see these lines or not, but they're my reference lines, and then there's my 200 thousandths depth there. And just for reference sake, I'm going to run the 200 thousandths on this corner also. So I'm ready to set it up in the mill and start cutting. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to touch off on this face. I'm going to zero my hand wheel, and then I'm going to move over 190 thousandths. It's a, sorry, that was a 280 thousandths. So I'm going to move over 270 thousandths. I'm going to leave myself 10 thousandths for a finishing pass. Zero out my x-axis. Now I'm going to come down and touch off on the Z.
Using 5/8 diagonal roughing end mill. Take a 3,000 temp cut this time. Double check, see how deep I go and so forth, see how accurate my measurements are. Take a look at the curve over here. About 125,000 feet so far.
I've got 15 thousandths to go. I decided to go ahead and finish it off with this end mill. I'm already at my 280 thousandths here. I double checked that. We're right on the money. And since I'm getting such a good finish with this, I'm going to go ahead and finish it off. I've got about 15 thousandths to go. I'm going to sneak up on it. I'm going to go 10. And then I'll take a final finishing pass. And going with that. Okay, this should be the final pass. Right on the money. Now it's time to get out my Randy Richards in the shop dovetail cutter and cut the dovetails. Now this is what's responsible for starting this whole project. When Randy Richards came out with his smaller dovetail cutter, I knew I had the project for it and I ordered one immediately. So I'm going to put it to the test. I haven't used it yet. We'll give it a shot. In order to measure for the dovetails, I've got 2 pieces of 1/8 inch drill rod. Actually, I believe these are drill blanks. And so I put them in the dovetail and measured it, and it mikes out to 1 inch 142 thousandths. Okay, the next thing I have to do is to bore out the center of the holder for the eccentric that locks the tool holders in place. These little pistons are pushed out by this eccentric. There's a bushing in the middle of it that centers in the bottom. So the first thing in the order of operations, I'll drill out the hole and ream it for that, and then I'll bore it out to this is 1 inch. I just checked it with the gauge. Checked it with a micrometer to and it is right at 1 inch. So I'll probably go drill it out to about 7/8 and then bore it to the final. The diameter of the shaft, the adapter that goes inside the eccentric is actually undersized a little bit, and it measures 0.985. So there's quite a bit of clearance there. I think I'm going to make a little tighter than that. There's quite a bit of slop in that, which is probably where some of my movement comes from. So I'm going to go a little bit undersized and sneak up on it and actually do it to fit. This is the end of part 1 of my entry into Emma's Spare Room Machine Shop Tool Making Contest. I need to apologize for the footage of the Randy Richards dovetail cutter. I'm not sure what happened. I got about 15 minutes worth of out of focus footage on that. So there were a few shots that I was able to salvage, but when I'm making the tool holders, I will be using that cutter again, and I'll make sure I get some good footage of the use of that cutter. I'd like to thank all my subscribers. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss part 2. I know Emma has asked for 2 videos, and I will have a final wrap-up video, which will be the second video for her. However, there will be at least 1, possibly 2 fill-in videos showing some of the details of the project. Thank you for watching. See you again.